Hey guys, what is up? My name is BobaTalks and welcome back to a brand new Star Wars video. Now in this video, I'm going to be going over 5 things you may have missed in the new Star Wars Solo trailer. Now these things are pretty cool. You may have spotted 1 or 2 of them, but I'm hoping that you haven't seen at least all of them. They are quite intriguing. I'm very excited to see where some of them may go in the film, but some of them also just might not be anything more than Easter eggs and just the director's way of playing with us fans. But either way, whether a couple of them turn out to just be nothing other than Easter eggs, it's still cool that they're out there in the world of the Star Wars universe, and I think you'll see what I mean when I talk about the first couple. Now, up until the most recent Solo trailer, we actually haven't seen much of Paul Bettany's character, if not at all really, and the character he is playing is known as Dryden Voss, and he is the actual gangster who recruits Han and a few others for the heist that is really the movie. Now towards the end of the trailer, where the pace starts to pick up quite a bit, we see Dryden Voss pull out this kind of weapon, and I've said this in previous videos that it kind of reminds me of like a really kind of short or daggered version of a vibro blade, or you can kind of compare this to Snoke's guards in The Last Jedi. Either way, in this very fast shot that almost goes within a blink of an eye, we see Dryden Voss ignite this blade of his, this double-edged blade, and he kind of like lets out his rage, I think, in his office, and that is where we see the Sith Holocron. Now this is some seriously cool stuff. Now it's not like Dryden Voss is a Sith or a Jedi, so he couldn't open this Holocron, so I'm pretty sure it is just for like a collectible kind of sake. Regardless, you do have to be quite strong in the dark side of the Force to even open a Sith Holocron, and it's just really cool to see an actual Holocron, a Sith Holocron, on live action Star Wars. As you can tell from the amount of items in the office of Dryden Voss, he seems to be a collector of sorts, so I'm thinking that he has come across this Sith Holocron and just keeps it on display with all the other things in his office, much like how Emperor Palpatine collected a lot of things throughout his life, especially after Order 66. Maybe Dryden Voss is one of a few people out there who collect such ancient artifacts of an era long gone apart from Lord Vader and Palpatine. I have no doubt that this is the case, even though, you know, to some people like Han Solo, it's nothing but
hokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid.
But to some people like Palpatine and potentially Dryden Voss here, they are some seriously cool toys to collect, regardless of whether you can open the Holocron or not. Now, I'm not going to include this as a number 2 because technically we didn't get this in the trailer, but related to the Sith Holocron that we saw in Dryden Voss's office, we also see some Mandalorian armor thanks to Empire. With the film not so far away, of course we're getting more and more stuff into Dryden Voss even more, and we see him in his office. Now this could be before or after the rage quit kind of thing he went through where we saw the Sith Holocron in the trailer. But in this shot, we see some Mandalorian armor in the background. Now, this has built up a lot of speculation as to whether this is somehow linked to Boba Fett in the film, or is it belonging to some other Mandalorian, or is Dryden Voss actually from Mandalore himself, or something similar. Now, in my personal opinion, this hasn't really got anything to do with Boba Fett, and I think people are just saying it has something to do with him just because of the similarities of the armor. I'm more inclined to believe that it is from another Mandalorian, or potentially even Dryden Voss himself. But even if it doesn't belong to him, it is quite apparent that he is a collector of artifacts, and it wouldn't surprise me if this is some very old Mandalorian armor. But I'd love to know what you think in the comments down below. The number 2 detail that you may have missed in the trailer comes from Woody Harrelson's character Tobias Beckett. Just as we see Han with Beckett, we hear Han say that he's been waiting a long time for a shot like this. Now you can only assume that this has got to do with the heist in the film that Beckett's character is telling Han about throughout the trailer. So in this scene they seem to be gearing up, and this could be the very first time we see Han, and Han himself gets his DL-44 heavy blaster pistol that is his signature pistol throughout the rest of the films. Now obviously this film is going to drop quite a few things that we know of in the future films, but you know, is introduced into the Solo film to us for the first time, much like this DL-44 pistol or Han and Chewie's relationship and how they even first meet. But I just wanted to include this one because I feel like a few people may have just thought he was getting chucked a gun, but really it is that good old trusty gun we know and love. Number 3 is something many people may have actually spotted but didn't really know what to make of it. Now this scene I'm talking about right here is when Chewie embraces this other Wookiee, which a lot of fans are speculating is Chewbacca's wife. Now this would make some sense, and it would be interesting to see their relationship throughout the film, or how he might obviously decide to stick around with Han Solo from here on out, as we know in the old trilogy. Now this is causing a lot of people to obviously draw comparisons between the fact that we saw Marla in the old Star Wars holiday special, where she had to attempt to cook a meal, and this holiday special really wasn't received well by fans, and was just viewed by a very cheesy cash-in on obviously the Star Wars brand success and the unexpected success of the films. But regardless, I'm down for this. Bring Marla back into canon, why not? It will give Chewie a bit more development. Obviously we're going to get a lot of Chewie in this film, so bring Marla on. Now the next detail, or details you may have missed from the trailer, is the fact that the Falcon looks different. And obviously you would have probably picked that up yourself. Obviously the Falcon looks a bit newer, and you may or may not like that, but obviously this film is obviously set quite a while before we see the rust bucket that is the Falcon, but you know, the glorious rust bucket. But this Falcon is more or less kind of off the factory line, and it hasn't had the modifications that Solo added to it. So the details you may have not picked up is that the Falcon does actually not have as much firepower at all. The biggest difference is the nose, and the fact that it has one long nose now rather than 2 separate prongs. Now we may get a better explanation of this during the film or towards the end, where we might get a comment from Han saying, oh, I feel like doing this to it, or I may do that to it. But there's a lot of fan speculation as to why this is, you know, the case. Obviously it's a newer version and Han is going to somehow take it off. A reason for this could be adding in concussion missiles, or was that bit before just for more cargo space? Regardless, it is a newer ship at this point in the timeline, so that is mainly why this nose is still very much so intact. And obviously we can't forget about the new paint job. It is a lot more white with blue over it, and also it has a new sensor dish, which is circular like the old version, unlike the Force Awakens version that got knocked off and it was more of a rectangular one. But in this one now, it resembles the sensor dish we knew, which was circular, but this one is a lot more strapped to the surface rather than poking outwards, in which it does in 4, 5, and 6. Another detail you may have just mistook for some typical Imperial troopers or stormtroopers are actually new troopers that the Solo film are introducing, which somehow we never saw in the other films, which obviously are the future, but that's just the way this stuff works, I suppose. But either way, we saw the Ranger troopers on top of that weird ass Star Wars looking train. The one thing that was very cool about these guys is that they have these kind of magnetic locking boots which strap them to the surface of that, I'm just going to call it, space train. We also have the Imperial patrol troopers who are chasing after Han whilst he is speeding away with Emilia Clarke towards the beginning of the trailer, and we've seen it in other trailers as well. And we also get a very quick glimpse at a Mud trooper, which is also being labeled as a Mimban trooper as well. Either way, I'm always glad to see new designs like this, and from what I've seen of these guys in the trailer, they all look absolutely kick-ass. And most of all, I'm looking forward to see the Ranger troopers who are going to lock themselves on top of that moving space train. But other than that, everybody, that is every detail I have to share in this video at this time. I believe there was more than 5. To be honest, I kind of lost count along the way, but I hope this gave you a bit more insight into the new Solo Star Wars film, and I hope this got you a little bit more excited for the little things we might be seeing, like the Sith Holocron or the Mandalorian Armor, to the things we may see more prominently in the film, like Chewie's wife, to the Falcon details, and the new Imperial troopers that will be seen throughout the film. So if you guys enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you hit that like button. It really does show your support for the channel, and if you're new to this channel and want to see more Star Wars videos, why not subscribe so you never miss out on one. Also everyone, be sure to share this with all your friends who are into Star Wars, and if you want to stay a little bit more up to date with me personally, you can follow me on my social media. I am most active on Twitter or Instagram. I also want to say thank you to each and every one of my patrons who are now appearing on the screen. Consider checking out my Patreon page for yourself if you haven't done so already. You may like some of the tiers like these guys did. I also have a Discord server where we talk about everything geeky and nerdy, so be sure to discuss some Star Wars in the server. Server invite link is in the description, but other than that guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.